Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Post Match Live with We Ain't Got No History. My name is David, and we'll be here for about 30 to 40 to 45 to 55 minutes, depending on how long we last. Talking about Chelsea's 4-0 win over Brighton. A bright way to start your weekend, so to speak. After scoring what was 1 goal in 4 games, we've now scored 4 goals in 1 game. That's certainly a better situation. Prefer that, take that any day over these the 0-0 streak and all the. I think it was five draws in a row, including Wednesday's extra time draw plus penalty kick shootout. So it's certainly great to see. Great to see Chelsea back, not only in the goals, but in the wins, the winning column. We are temporarily, at least, moved back into third, tied on points, level on points with Manchester United, and 3 points ahead of Liverpool. Liverpool play on Monday. Manchester United play later this weekend. But certainly the 4 goals helps the goal difference as well, which we're pretty close with Liverpool in the race. That's heating up for the top 4 there. And keeps us ahead of any of the silly chasing pack like Spurs and Arsenal. Hazard was sweet giving the kid his shirt. Yeah, if you didn't see it at the very end of the game, not only did he score 2 goals, but Eden Hazard with the lovely moment of giving his shirt away to the little boy who held the sign that said handmade, homemade sign. You know, it said, "Hazard, can I have your shirt?" And Eden remembered it and gave it to the little boy, and you could see just how much it meant to him. A little tear comes to your eye. Very, very sweet moment. Lovely moment after, Hazard still remembered that after still scoring 2 goals and enjoying the win. You know, the very first thing he did at the final whistle was give his shirt away. So, very nice from Eden overall, not just on the pitch but off the pitch, and that's why we love him. Nice assist from Charlie as well. Yeah, certainly a good day for all the Belgians today. Well, okay, not the injured one, Thibaut Courtois, who couldn't play today, but Batshuayi got his start, only his 3rd in the league all season. He didn't get a goal, but he was certainly involved with Hazard and Willian linking up really well with both of them. Didn't always come off, obviously, when you go for the flicks and the tricks, sometimes things don't work out, but there's some good understanding there up front with those 3. Certainly well worth the start for Batshuayi, going the full 90 as well. I think it's the first time he's actually completed the whole game for Chelsea. So in the league, that is. So it's certainly a good day for him. Whether that means he stays around, I guess we'll find out in the next 10 days, 11 days. He's been expected to leave for a while now on loan, either to Sevilla or maybe Dortmund, which seems a little far-fetched. Perhaps to West Ham. Who knows? But he's made 2 starts in a row, partly because of rotation on Wednesday, and partly today because Morata got himself suspended. So I'm sure there's ways for him to improve, but good performance from Batshuayi today, and probably much needed. It's certainly people are getting excited about Edin Dzeko. Those rumors. Personally, I'm not too enthused about spending 20 to 30 million on a striker who is possibly not ever going to replicate the form that he showed last season. I'm not saying he's bad. He's obviously a good player, but he is going to be 32 in March. Spending 20 to 30 million on him and signing him for multiple years, because he's not just going to come here for a year. It maybe not the best way to spend our money. I realize that we probably need a backup who's more readily trusted than Batshuayi, but is it really worth making that investment for the next 4 years, 3-4 years, or whatever that Dzeko would need to come here? I think there's much better ways to spend our money, including buying Dzeko's current teammate Emerson to back up Alonso. We saw one of those Alonso kind of run out of steam today, having to face this Schelotto character from Brighton, who's been their best player both times we played him this season. So Alonso was withdrawn with about 15 minutes to go, and put on Zappacosta to try to shut down this Schelotto character, who possibly could have won 2 penalties if the referee from Wednesday was refereeing this game. Schelotto either would have won 2 penalties or would have been sent off for diving many times. So certainly there's some borderline calls there. We possibly got lucky every once in a while, but sometimes you need a bit of luck. Not much luck about Chelsea jumping out to a 2-0 lead inside of 6 minutes. Hazard getting us started in the 3rd minute with a nice finish, and then if you haven't seen the second goal that Chelsea scored, certainly go hunt down those replays, because that will be one of the nicer team goals you'll ever see, I think, certainly this season. Nice to see me smiling. I've been upset. I'm just a little disappointed. It's usually a pretty even keel around here in Mild Take City, but today it's lots of things to be happy about today. Why wouldn't you be smiling? Really enjoyed Hazard's performance, and that second goal, that's top notch. Certainly seek that out. Willian gets the goal. Nice finish. Batshuayi with actually the assist. Hazard with the setup. It's all sorts of back heel, double flicks. I don't even know. Words don't do it justice. Definitely the goal to seek out. And then after the 2-0, kind of Brighton actually responded pretty well to going behind by 2. Chelsea probably relaxed a little bit. You're up by 2 goals early on. It's not even the 7th minute, and you're already up by 2 goals. So it's easy to relax. Brighton grew into the game a little bit. They had those 2 penalty shouts. Caballero made a good save in either half, but then he also made life a little tough for himself and for us with a couple questionable decisions there from the backup. But overall, he finally keeps a clean sheet, which also hasn't happened to Caballero, so good for him. But yeah, so Caballero was starting because Courtois picked up an ankle injury, apparently, late in the week. And he joined with Courtois. We actually were missing 6 senior players today. Cahill and Fabregas are injured with hamstring injuries. Courtois has the ankle injury. Drinkwater has some sort of injury. Nobody's saying what it is. And then, of course, we had Pedro and Morata suspended because of their red cards on Wednesday. So there was plenty of talk beforehand as to who's going to start and how. I suppose Conte was basically forced into the 3-4-3, much to some people's delight, obviously, because not everybody is enthused by the 3-5-2 with Morata and Hazard up top and Fabregas pulling strings in the middle. 2 of those 3 obviously couldn't play today, so it was 3-4-3. The only question was whether Conte would trust Batshuayi to start, and he did, and much to our benefit, because as we were saying, that front 3 of Hazard, Batshuayi, and Willian was working really well. Alonso and Moses on the wings as usual, Conte and Bakayoko in the middle. I've said many times that Bakayoko as a 2-man in a 2-man midfield is much better, and something that I prefer much more than in a 3-man midfield. He seems lost in a 3-man midfield, doesn't really know what to do, where to run, how to apply himself. In a 2-man midfield, especially with Conte, it seems to be much more natural from him. His role maybe is more defined. It probably places more responsibility on him as well, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But he was much like the rest of the team. He was good today, and working well with Conte. And when when Bakayoko arrived in the summer, he turned into a direct replacement for Matic. So last season, our preferred lineup was Conte and Matic in the middle. Now, Conte's original plan was to use Bakayoko for a season as a backup under Matic to learn the ropes. Matic, of course, wanted none of that, and he left. So Bakayoko was thrust into the role. He was also injured, but it's the performances like today. I think is something we can expect more so in the future than all those times when he's giving the ball away and being highly ineffective and letting the game pass him by. Today he was applying himself. Yeah, I'm not saying Maurice's Matic was better. Certainly Matic was basically in his prime for the last few seasons. I haven't really followed how well he's done at United. I'm assuming he's been good. I don't think anybody was saying Matic was bad, but he was getting up there in age, whatever. So we were trying to get a succession plan going for him, and Bakayoko seemed like a natural replacement. Possibly had to be put into a more responsible role sooner than we would have thought or imagined or planned. Baka's too lazy, doesn't even want to run, says Kelvin. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's lazy. I saw Lampard kind of tore him a new one the other day for not being an all action midfielder. But I don't know. Bakayoko is not going to be confused for somebody like Conte. Bakayoko is the more languid, the slower runner, bigger strides. He's always going to look a little slow, a little lazy. Kind of like the Loftus-Cheek type, where you take bigger steps. Same thing with Alonso is often talked about in that sort of context. But once Alonso gets his legs going, his top speed's not bad. But I don't know. I think in a 3-4-3 with Bakayoko and Conte is something that we can look forward to in the future, hopefully more. Of course, part of the reason we switched away from 3-4-3 is because teams figured out how to play against it. So, it's just it comes down to making the right call before the game and choosing the right personnel. And that's why the manager is paid what he's paid, and that's why he's facing the pressures that he's facing. And then we had the back three of Rudiger, Christensen, and Azpilicueta. Wasn't the most solid display from them, despite the clean sheet. And then there's the question about Christensen and just how and what is the concussion protocol these days, because he went for a header with Shane Duffy of Brighton, and there's two things that he's known for. One is being big, the other is being a really good header of the ball. But this time he also headed Christensen in the back of the head. They were both down for a while, and then Christensen looked quite groggy, but he was allowed to carry on. And then about 10 minutes later, or whenever, there's actually what people are saying was the referee who told him that he needs to go off because he had no idea where he was or whatever. And so the question now, of course, is, well, A, did he suffer a concussion, which it seems like he did, which would, by rule, means that he can't play for 6 days. And then the other thing is just how was he allowed to carry on? Concussions. It's still an area of the game that's I think is not given enough serious emphasis, enough serious concern. And because when somebody gets a head injury, and it comes down to being a man and about being manly and all this nonsense, when it's perhaps the most serious injury you can suffer is a concussion or any sort of head injury like that. So hopefully Christensen will be all right. I would expect him to have to undergo the concussion protocol, which would rule him out. I believe. At least I believe this is the supposed protocol that exists. But then I also thought that there was a third-party observer at all grounds of the Premier League who's supposed to, overrule medical teams if they allow players to carry on with concussions and stuff like that. Who knows? Who knows what the rule is? But Christensen was replaced by David Luiz. This was the 58th minute, and this is the first time David Luiz played in a Premier League game since October. So welcome back to the Premier League, David Luiz. And then so we had so the first sub was kind of an injury enforced thing that kind of messed with Conte's plans. You know, when you plan out the substitutions you'd want to do. The second sub was a tactical one with Zappacosta coming on for Alonso and playing the left side. So his weaker foot, but then as we've seen with Azpilicueta over the years, sometimes when you put the wrong-footed defender on the flank, it helps you defend a lot of like cutbacks and stuff like that, which Scalotto was doing a lot. So Zappacosta had fresh legs, which really mattered. Alonso looked pretty gassed by that point. So that was a tactical sub for the last 15 minutes with Zappacosta coming on, and then the final sub was Shahid's second sub stabilized the game. Yeah, I think that Scalotto seemed like basically their one big attacking, marauding outlet, and he was causing troubles left, right, and center. But once Zappacosta came on, the whole game kind of petered out. Of course, it helped that Hazard scored his second, Chelsea's third, a couple minutes later. So that once it was 3-0, the game was over. But certainly Zappacosta stabilized that side, and that was good to see. And it underlines why we're looking at possibly bringing on this Emerson Palmieri character from Roma. I don't particularly know much about him other than he was pretty good last season, based on all accounts. But then he had a knee ligament injury in May, and that had kept him out until last month. So he's just recently come back from that injury, which possibly explains his fairly low price. In today's market, should be around the mid-20s, mid-20 20 million, of course. And he's only 23, so he should be pretty decent. I know some people were kind of upset that basically his situation mirrors Baba Rahman's situation. They're both coming off of major knee ligament issues. But Emerson seems ahead of Baba, both in terms of playing quality and then just in terms of fitness. Rahman is not ready to make his comeback yet. Emerson is back training and playing, so if we need help right now in January and going forward, so that kind of makes sense. And Emerson kind of could represent a bargain in that sense. So Baba himself looks to be heading to Schalke. Yeah, I haven't really seen too much of Emerson. What's your analysis? Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't really either. Robin says he was good before his injury, very technical, but he barely had 16 minutes of play. Yeah, so he did just return. I know there was one Italian journalist who said he's very good. I don't know. As far as I understand it, he's kind of an overall solid player, both going forward and defensively, which is good. I think Alonso is a very unique player in that he's tall and often turns into a second striker. Emerson possibly a more traditional left back, wing back sort of player, which can be good. It's kind of like the right back situation where we have Moses, who's a converted winger, and then we have Zappacosta, who's a little taller and a bit more straightforward in terms of running and stuff like that. So it's good to have a mix of different players, I think, as opposed to just like for like substitutions and like for like backups. I mean, they both kind of make sense, and supposedly this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish at striker. But I think in a way it might be also useful to have Morata backed up by somebody who is not like Morata. Somebody who's a smaller, a runner, whatever. So, Yeah, I did like that Musonda was put on instead of Ross Barkley for the last 10 minutes. Um, it's good to see. Good to see. I mean, there are people are upset that Barkley didn't make his debut, but then if Conte puts on Barkley instead of Musonda, I'm sure there'll be lots of people also upset that Musonda didn't get to play again. So it was definitely that's the right choice for me, and Musonda repaid that faith with probably the assist of the game for Chelsea's fourth goal, just before the 90th minute. Musonda had dropped off. It looked like he kind of played a hybrid role between right forward. So he came off for Willian, who was playing the right side of the front line. And Musonda played there as well, but he was seemed more willing to drop in the midfield as well. And that's something that he's been adding to his game over the years. We think of Musonda as this light, tricky winger, but he's played central midfield several times now, both especially in the youth. So it's something that he has that he can add to his game. So nice to see Musonda play. I don't know if he's gonna stick around. There's been rumors that he's gonna head out on loan, and I'd assume that that's why he hadn't played in the FA Cup as well, just so that he's not cup tied for whoever he may go to. But maybe he'll stick around. It seems like we have a surplus at this point. With Barkley in, we now have Hazard, Willian, Pedro, and Barkley for basically two spots. If Musonda sticks around, the chances are he's going to have even less playing time than in the first half of this season. So it'd be, I think he'll need a loan. But good to see him play today, and good performance from him today. Charlie deserves his chance. I mean, it's good to see him. He's been injured a fair amount this season, which certainly hasn't helped. I mean, I remember him missing out on a couple cup games even because of injuries. So he needs to stay consistently healthy as well, not just receive consistent minutes. Robin says, heard Jamie Carragher say something smart for the first time ever. Morata should have another striker who can take both minutes and pressure off his back so he can come in fresh and do his thing. Yeah. I mean, that's theoretically Batshuayi can do that as well, but Conte doesn't seem to be in agreement. You can also look at it, unfortunately, in a way that so say you bring in Dzeko. Let's ignore the fact that he's seems very expensive and he's a little too old for what the types of signings that Chelsea tend to make. But so you bring in Dzeko, and now you have a competition for striker, and maybe Morata is more comfortable because this reminds him now of a situation that he faced at Juventus and Real Madrid. But maybe the fact that now he's not the top dog is going to start affecting him mentally. So what are you going to do now? Now he's feeling the pressure, and so much psychological impact. But we definitely need somebody to deputize for Morata, and if we're not going to be able to trust Batshuayi to do it, then I guess in the grand scheme of things, dropping 30 million on Dzeko is far more preferable than dropping 30 million on Andy Carroll, or signing Peter Crouch, or I don't know who else we would like with Benteke. I don't know, Jan Koller jokes were being made. I absolutely loved Jan Koller when he played for the Czech Republic. That man was a beast. Literally, he was amazing. Speaking of beast, Akinfenwa even made a joke, which I thought was pretty stupid, but whatever. It gets people love that guy, so he made a joke about Chelsea signing him. Who else could be available? Tore-Andre Flo is a coach at Chelsea. Maybe we can bring him back. He's still decent. He had hip surgery the other last year, so there you go. Emil Heskey, of course, the legend, the one and only Emil Heskey. Yeah, so not exactly swimming in good options. You know, bring back DDA for a third go around. He's still playing, right? Phoenix. The season in Phoenix is going to start in a few weeks, preseason anyway. So there you go. Bring in somebody who can trust, or I know this is crazy, possibly trust Batshuayi to do the job, and maybe he'll come good. You never know. You know, and a couple more performances like today, maybe he just had this really bad 6 months. I mean, in the summer we were all pretty excited about his play in preseason, his goals at the end of last season, uh, and I don't know. I'm not sure really what happened since, but maybe he just had a bit of a blip. Dion Dublin. We can't find center forward. Brighton spent 50 million on the best center forward in the Dutch league. All right, they signed this Locadia or whatever his name is, but I don't know. It seems like we're kind of restricting ourselves in this whole striker search because it seems like we're looking for a very specific striker. You know, somebody who is six whatever, 6'2", 6'3", strong, can hold the ball up, uh, and that sort of player. You know, I mean, Andy Carroll, as much as it's a joke, I mean that guy, if he were healthy and maybe didn't have this the stigma about him of being Andy Carroll, you know, he possibly would be the ideal candidate. Somebody who can come on late in games, doesn't have to be the most technical player, but somebody who can dominate him and bully defenders, get his head to the ball, etc., etc. Hold the ball up, bring others into play. But that sort of target man, classic target man, is really not something that is available these days at the top of the game, and most teams just don't play with a striker like that. It's pretty limited. You know, it's an old school setup. It's kind of like playing with if people set up with like a Makalele type, you know, somebody who's strictly an anchor man, somebody who just sits in the midfield. You know, you could say Conte is kind of like that, but he does a lot more than Makalele used to do. You know, the game has evolved and it's moved past such specialized roles. But you know, I guess that's what Conte wants, and if the board is going to back him, then we might just find out somebody somebody who can bring in and do a more trusted job than Batshuayi. So. Difference is we can't afford to bring. Difference is we can't afford to bring in a top player from a different league and not know how he'll play out. We have too much at stake, says Ariel. And I mean that's pretty much the only angle from which this Edin Dzeko thing makes a ton of sense. Not financial sense, but it makes or squad building sense even. But it makes a lot of sense in terms of a short term fix, a short term gain. You know, Dzeko, he was nowhere near as good at City as he was at Roma or has been at Roma, but he certainly knows the league. He's a very good player, undoubtedly. It's just all the other things around him that don't make too much sense for this transfer, including the money, including his age. But you know, it is. It is what it is. Aftap says Conte is not just a water carrier; he drinks it as well. Yeah, he drinks their milkshake, right? Yeah, Conte is fantastic as always. I always think Conte is like a young player too, but he's not that young anymore. He's 27, I think it is. He's this is prime 26. He will be 27 in March. So this is Conte's prime, we can assume, but maybe he'll keep going into his 30s. I mean, Makalele was obviously an excellent player, well into his 30s. So hopefully many years of Conte twins to look forward to in the middle of Chelsea midfield. Sounds like Dzeko and Emerson are soon to be signed. Certainly, if we are to believe rumors out of Italy, including Gianluca Di Marzio, who made his name with being the transfer oracle in Italy. If we are to believe them, then Emerson has agreed personal terms, and now it's just down to Chelsea and Roma agreeing on a structure of a deal. Supposedly, Chelsea are looking for a loan, a short-term loan, and with a buy option that would be predicated on a number of appearances, which it sounds like an excellent arrangement for us, because there's a possibility that Emerson, coming off of a major knee injury, doesn't actually manage to play a lot. So if we just loan him in for 6 months and then tie the 20 million fee to appearances, that's an excellent arrangement as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if Roma would be willing to go for this, but even if we have to drop 20 million on him, if we're confident that he's over his knee issue, then that's probably a good signing. Dzeko, his agent came out in the middle of the week and said, there's always rumors about Dzeko, etc., but he wants to stay at Roma and all this. Agent said there's nothing here, nothing to see here, is what the agent said. Agents obviously don't necessarily tell the truth all the time, but sometimes they do tell the truth. I think we're always assuming that agents are lying, or basically whatever they say, the opposite is true. But sometimes, they do tell it as it is. And I have I think there's little reason to doubt for Dzeko's agent to be really playing games here. If he says he wants to stay at Roma, I think we can assume that he wants to stay at Roma. And why wouldn't he? Here's their starter. They're in the Champions League playing against Besiktas, which probably have a better chance of beating Besiktas than we have of beating Barcelona. Dzeko scored 39 goals for Roma last season, became a Ballon d'Or nominee. He's having a good time there. Why would he want to leave? Why he would want to leave is probably money. He might be a starter for Roma, but I'm guessing we would be able to offer him a lot more weekly wages. And, he knows that he is about to be 32, and this is probably the last big payday that he can have. So it kind of would make sense if he agreed to a move, even if he wanted to stay at Roma. If, say, I really want to stay here, but there's this giant pile of cash waiting for me at Chelsea. Well, I guess I can find it within myself to, move back to England and get paid a lot of money. His agent said he wants to stay at Roma, and now the latest rumors is that Dzeko has approved, quote-unquote approved, a move to Chelsea. There's no agreement yet between player or club, but apparently Dzeko is open to a move, or has approved this potential deal. That's what the rumors say. It's kind of in opposition to what the agents say, but they can also, be two sides of the same coin, basically. So it could still happen, but as I've been saying, it really doesn't it doesn't fit the previous MO that Chelsea have established in the last few years of signing either players who are bargain players like Barkley. We had the 15 million for Barkley is undoubtedly a good price, regardless of how much you might rate him. Or we sign players like Conte and Alonso, and who else? Morata, players who are in early to mid 20s, who are already good and established and can come in and be a starter, but then also have a high enough ceiling that we can improve them. Not necessarily the most finished product. So you buy a Conte instead of a Pogba, for example, or whatever. Slightly not the top tier in terms of transfer fees. So that seems to be our MO, and Dzeko doesn't really fit that. He's on the declining side of his career, he's simply, Chelsea have the policy of not putting or not play, signing players over 30 to more than a single year contracts. And as far as we know, that also applies to new signings, not just players who are already here. You know, if we couldn't give John Terry a multi-year contract after he hit 30, I'm not sure why we would give a multi-year contract to Edin Dzeko now that he's 31, about to be 32. So I think that possibly speaks to this Dzeko thing being nothing more than just a big rumor that everybody got excited about. You know, but it was good to be excited about something for a minute, because previously we were linked with Carroll and Crouch, and certainly we were not excited about that at all. So other than the joke potential, right? So that's exciting. Jamie Vardy allegedly wants to join us. Yeah, the Vardy rumor's been around for a while. And see, somebody like Vardy actually would make a bit more sense to me, just because he's a different sort of player than Morata. But it looks like we're the player we want is somebody who can kind of be a like-for-like replacement, as opposed to somebody who can maybe play alongside Morata or switch up the method of attack. You know, I see the merit in both. I really would like to see us try a two-striker setup with a midfielder behind, or like a number 10 at some point somehow. But that doesn't seem to be happening. You know, somebody like Morata and Vardy would be an interesting combination. Even Morata and Batshuayi would be something possibly useful that we should try out. You know, we saw Batshuayi and Costa work together very briefly, but pretty effectively at the start of last season. So maybe we can go back to that at some point when we need, if we need, or just give Michi more minutes for Michi. Our cup price Leicester City, slowly but surely we will reassemble title-winning Leicester City from 2015-2016. You know, we get Mahrez in. You know, Mahrez could be a useful player. We get Vardy in. We already have Drinkwater and Conte. Schmeichel, he can come and be the next backup. Who else is there who might be useful? Harry Maguire, good player. Get some English defenders in there. You know, so we'll get it done. We'll get it done. What do I think of Zaha? I think this question came up a couple games ago. Zaha, well, poor Crystal Palace are getting absolutely rolled over by Arsenal. Well, that's unfortunate. But don't particularly care about Crystal Palace after Loftus-Cheek was basically ruled out for the rest of the season. That kind of sucks. But so Crystal Palace, hope they get relegated. I know they had nothing to do with it, but I hope they get relegated now that Loftus-Cheek can't play for them. What I think of Zaha, I think Zaha needs to be rescued from Palace. He now looks ready for his big move. You know, he went to Manchester United a few years ago, and that was clearly a little too big of a step for him at that point. And quite smartly, you know, he took a step back. Not too many players do that effectively. You know, sometimes you make that big leap forward, and then it doesn't work out, and that's your career. Zaha, you know, he took a step back, went back to Palace, and he's once again looked an excellent player. So I hope for him and for other teams, you know, he needs to make that step. And yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't mind him at Chelsea. I don't know how much he would command on the transfer market. I'm assuming quite a lot, considering he's, you know, homegrown and all that stuff. But yeah, it's we do need to freshen up the attacking core. You know, I mean, Willian's been excellent lately. I think somebody was saying he has 3 goals and 4 assists in his last few appearances. But Pedro seems to have fallen off of a cliff this season, and he's certainly not young. Neither is Willian. So those are two players who will need replacing in the near future. Barkley's here, and conceivably he can grow into that role. But bringing in somebody like Zaha is definitely could add to your options. You have somebody, have a attacking midfield group of say Hazard, Barkley, Musonda, and Zaha is not bad. It's not bad. I could see that working. But yeah, I'm assuming there'll be a lot of teams interested in Zaha or are interested. So it's probably a decent bidding war about to be brewing over there. To beat Barcelona, we need one more player to replace Morata. I just think we need Morata to rediscover his scoring touch, and we'll be fine. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if Morata is the key to beating Barcelona. I think the key to beating Barcelona is kind of just to get prevent them from scoring is the key, right? You can't lose if they don't score unless you lose on penalties. I don't know. I'm not. It's people seem to be very worried about Barcelona, but I don't know. That's still too far away from me right now. I'm more concerned about beating Arsenal on Wednesday, and considering how Arsenal are absolutely blitzing Crystal Palace, that's going to be a pretty tough game. Then again, it is just Crystal Palace, so hopefully we put in a better effort. What is the issue with Boakie? Yeah, I don't know. That's just this Richmond Boakie character. His name keeps being dropped as somebody who we're potentially interested in, but I don't know. It seems random and weird, and I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily something we need to be too concerned about. Apparently, Nacho Monreal is having the game of his life. I'm not watching any of this stuff here. Zaha, full of energy, coming in the last 15 minutes. That's right. Yes, we need some runners, some energy players. Can't go wrong with energy players. All right. It's like we've been here for about 40 minutes. So probably gonna go ahead and wrap this up and get back to watching the rest of the action today. I was gonna look up who else is playing today. So we're back in third. Manchester United play. Oh, they're playing right now. Hey, Manchester United playing right now. Come on, Burnley. Right now it's 0-0 between Burnley and Manchester United. If United lose by some miracle, then we stay level on points in second. United have the better goal difference, so they would stay second. We're back in third. 3 points ahead of Liverpool, who play on Monday away to Swansea City. Swansea are fairly terrible, so I don't think we should expect any miracles there. But Liverpool do have a habit of playing down or up to the level of their opposition, as we saw them beat Manchester City, and they're perfectly capable of losing to Swansea. Of course, we could say that about a lot of teams, but Liverpool seem more capable of doing that. I guess I'm not sure if capable is the right word, but they seem more likely to do that than most other teams. So, come on, you Swans, and come on, you Burnley. Who are they? The Clarets? I don't know the nicknames. In fact, it looks like it's 0-0 everywhere except Arsenal, who are absolutely blasting away Crystal Palace. It's 4-0 now. Jesus. Ugh. And then West Brom have taken the lead at Everton. Jay Rodriguez with the goal. For all Everton. Everything else is 0-0. So we're gonna go watch some exciting 0-0 football and root for Sean Dyche at Burnley. Hopefully they nick off a point or 3 from United. It's 4-0 to Chelsea today. 4 goals after just 1 goal in 4 games. So nice to see us finally score some goals. Only took 14 shots, but 10 of them were on target, which is excellent. And obviously scored with 4 of them, which is even better. Rode our luck a couple times. Brighton had a couple penalty shouts that maybe on another day are given. Caballero made a couple good saves. wasn't perfect from Chelsea by any means. Maybe the scoreline kind of belies how even the game was at times, but it's rare that you would dominate from first minute to last. Certainly, Chelsea scoring 2 goals in the first 7 minutes basically settled the game already, and then Hazard's second, Chelsea's third in the 77th minute made sure of the points. If you haven't seen the game or any of the highlights, be sure to watch the second goal, Chelsea's second goal, over and over and over, because that was excellent. And then also watch the highlight of Hazard giving his shirt to the little boy at the end of the game. It'll make you happy. It'll possibly bring a little tear to your eye if that's your thing. So next up for Chelsea is Arsenal on Wednesday, and that's the League Cup semi-final after the 0-0 first leg. We have it all to do at the Emirates, so that will be interesting, and that will be exciting, and we'll talk to you afterwards. If you watched any of this or part of this, thank you for watching. Thanks for the questions. Be sure to check out the website, weaintgotnohistory.com, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.